Welcome to episode 3 of Bernie's Bums. Olivia, how are you?
Doing all right. I mean, it's a rainy Monday. What could be better?
It ain't raining by me yet, but I'm sure it's going to hit Milwaukee soon.
Ugh, it's been raining all day.
Really? Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it. It's supposed to hit a little later. It's going to stink for the people at the Bucks watch party when they clinch Game 4 tonight. But
Yeah.
other than that, um, luckily, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. If they're in town, they got the roof. So it doesn't really matter for the Brewers either. Let's get into them right away. We don't have to face the Dodgers anymore. That's nice.
Yeah, that's super nice. Hopefully, maybe we could even avoid them in October, if anything. I highly doubt that, but, I can keep my hopes alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I would rather see them in October than the rest of the season at this point. The Brewers need to get healthy. Their pitching needs to get stronger. There's a lot of things to hammer out, and yet there's still a pretty darn good baseball team when it's all said and done. Um, I still think that behind the Dodgers, the Brewers are the second best team in the NL. There's obviously the things that I said that need to get figured out, but just from the eye test, that's what they are, even though they're second in the Central.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that at the moment. I think right now we've hit the first long stretch of games without a off day, and I think that hits every team differently, but we for sure have had our struggles in the last couple of weeks. But I mean, things are going to get better. Like you said, when you come down to it, we're a very good team. So things are all going to work out.
Right. So, do we want to start with the good stuff or the bad stuff?
Why don't we get the bad stuff out of the way?
All right, let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about the slumping offense. So, if they're not hitting home runs, they ain't scoring runs. That's been the problem for them lately. I mean, granted, that's what they're built on. They have a lot of power all over the field. But when you got guys like Travis Shaw, Jesus Aguilar, who are in the lineup every day seemingly, and they're not producing anything, that doesn't bode well for your offense.
Yeah, no, I think this is something I feel like we go through every year where we go through a stretch where we're only hitting home runs and we're never producing anything. So, is this anything new? No, but it is incredibly frustrating to see Aguilar and Shaw continually be in the lineup and taking up lineup spots when, they're striking out or just becoming an automatic out every night.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I literally smacked my head on a wall from watching Aguilar strike out in 3 pitches again. I'm, it's so frustrating watching him play, and like he's a fun dude to have around, but when it comes down to it, your bat's what got you here, and your is what's gonna play, and you're getting out hit by Eric Thames. And speaking of him, that 3-run bomb that he put out yesterday, holy cow, that
That
was something special. So I mean, like he's pushing for more playing time. And Aguilar's talk about a guy who's just letting the door open for someone to steal a spot.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of what happened last year when Thames went out with a thumb injury. Aguilar
Right.
stepped up and he was the guy for a little bit. It's kind of the opposite now where Aguilar seems to can't hit a beach ball into the ocean, and you have Thames starting to step up in big spots and creating a lot of good runs for us. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of it within the next couple of weeks. I know Thames is starting tonight, but I also don't want to see him against the lefties, so we're gonna have to figure something out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like it's hard to deny what Thames is doing right now. Granted, it's a small sample size of his last in his last 6 games. He's got 12 at bats, but he's hitting 417 on base, 462. Then he's slugging 917. That's a pretty good line for you with 2 home runs and 4 RBI. The guy's doing what he needs to do to get himself in the lineup, and you're seeing him in more. And he's raises, he was hitting under 200 for a while. Now he's up to 270 or 70 or so. But we've known that he's a guy that starts really hot. So is this just something that is going to be an aberration, or is this something that is sustainable for him? I think that's something that we have yet to see from him. Um, that being said, we talked about Aguilar, talked about Shaw. Braun, 3 for his last 35.
That's not good.
Or sorry, I think it's like 4 for his last 37 now with the home run that he hit. But
Yeah, I think,
yikes, yikes, yikes.
out of the three of them, I believe he's the closest to breaking out of it, just with the homer the other day. And he's always made hard contact, like throughout his whole career, he's always made hard contact. So I think out of the three of them, he's definitely the closest to breaking out of it. But, and again, too, Braun has never had a stretch like this in his career where, you look back at last season, he's never had stretches like this where he hasn't been hitting. So I think for him too, it's a bit of an adjustment to figure out how he's dealing with things. And obviously, he had this swing changes in the off season, but it's going to be interesting to see how he's been dealing with it to kind of get back on track.
Right. Um, I I really hope that he has a chance to get himself back on track, not only um, as just being someone who enjoys watching Ryan Braun play baseball, but as someone who is looking at him get paid $21 million this year and hit below 200. Like, that's a real problem for a team that doesn't have a ton of money just to throw around. One guy that is producing lately, but ran into a little bit of the injury bug, is Mike Moustakas. Finger fracture. They have him as day to day. It'll be, hopefully it doesn't affect him that much and he can buddy tape it or something like that. But he is someone that we put as someone that needed to break out, and he's starting to hit again. But it just sucks when that type of stuff happens and you get taken out of the lineup. Do you think that he's going to continue to raise that average and put the ball out of the yard, or is this something that's going to hold him back a little bit?
Well, like what you were talking about, we were the people like 2 weeks ago saying that he needs to break out, and he finally did, and he was producing really, really well. So for him to hit the injury bug like that is a real shot in the gut. So
Right.
I think it's going to be dependent on how late he's going to be out or how far he's going to be out. I don't know how, because it's, I believe, his right ring finger that is fractured. So
Okay.
that's dependent on how well he can grip the bat, and there's just a lot of factors that go into that. But overall, I think he can come back very well. I don't see a reason why he's gonna hit the slumps again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably gonna take him a bit just to figure out how to grip the bat with an injury like that.
Right. And that's something that, those little things can really add up and make for a tough go for somebody. But who knows? We'll see what happens. Let's get to good stuff. JJ's back. Jeremy Jeffress is back off of his rehab appearances, where he, as far as statistically, did not look very good. But as we tend to sometimes get alarmed at that, but when it comes down to it, they're trying to work through a few things, and that's basically just their lab. They're just trying to test things out to see, is this going to work in a game, yes or no? Where am I at right now? And I don't know. I thought he looked good coming out. What did you think?
Yeah, he looked. Honestly, he looked a lot better than I thought he would. I thought he would struggle a bit, but I think he's made 2 appearances since coming back, and I think I'd give him one more low stress appearance before you start building him up into the 8th or 9th inning. I think, a couple people are bringing up, well, his velocity is still down. Well, I don't necessarily care about the velocity being down if he's still striking guys out and producing outs. Because at the end of the day, you got to get 27 outs, and I don't care how you're going to do it. You just got to get them done.
Well, as Craig Counsell talked about last year, I have out-getters. I don't have guys in roles. And that's exactly what they're looking at doing now. Biggest thing with, I was actually at the game on Thursday, and I was walking in the concourse going to get something to eat or something like that, and I just hear Fireman start playing, and I just sprinted right back in, and I was just standing watching him pitch just because it's been a while. It's been a while since we got to see him out there, so it was great to see. Yelich is unreal. Not that anyone didn't know that before, but does he even look like a guy that should be leading the league in home runs, let alone hitting a home run?
Yeah, I don't know. You look at his build, and it's very kind of throwing it back to old time baseball, where your power hitters were those very lean, tall guys. And I think the thing that's crazy to me about him is, like, during his at bat, he's making adjustments, which, let alone to hit a 95-mile-an-hour baseball, is hard enough. So to be making adjustments during your at bat to be successful, I think has been something that brought him this far and not going to stop him anytime soon. You know, I like
Yeah.
I
And oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to finish up by saying, like, I don't see him stopping hitting the ball hard and getting on base. Like, I don't see it stopping.
Right, and I agree. I don't know if you saw it was before the Dodgers series. Him and Andy Haynes were working pregame, and FS or Fox Sports was doing a look in on them, and you see him just the one thing he was doing when he wasn't slumping, but he wasn't hitting the ball the way that he wanted to the series before. It was just a pure timing thing, and it just like it didn't look like they were doing anything, but all of a sudden now he's timing everything up. Like it's sometimes you just get out of sync, and credit to both Yelich and Andy Haynes for being able to figure out a way to get him. I don't even want to say back on track, but like synced up again. I
Well, yeah,
mean,
that's the funny
he's
thing.
played well, so
That's the funny thing. We call him slumping when he goes hitless for 2 games. I mean,
right.
at this point, he has extremely high expectations where he doesn't get a hit one game, and you're wondering what's wrong with him.
He's wild. Like it's incredible. I mean, he's hitting 417 over the last 7 games with 8 home runs and 16 RBI.
Yeah, as I
That's
like to as I like to
oh my
say, he's
gosh.
he's just stupid good right now. Just
Right,
stupid good.
right. And geez, with all these extensions that are being handed out, boy, would I love for him to get one. I I have a feeling he's going to be someone. I mean, when he does either hit free agency or hit, get an extension from the Brewers, if he continues on this pace this year, or has a year where it's just incredible like last year, and then even just has a good year, that guy's going to get more money than Bryce Harper, Machado, and he's going to be up around. I don't think he's going to get Trout money, but I think he's going to be pretty close to that at least.
Well, I don't know. Did you see the last contract he signed? Oh my gosh, we're getting him for cheap.
Right.
He's like
So I mean, like,
getting
what
nine
is he getting
million
paid? $10
dollars a
million
year.
dollars?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
$9 million a year. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right. Well, at that point, you think about it, he's hitting 270, like little over 270, 280 in Miami, but that's just because, I mean, that park is gigantic, and the guy hadn't even scratched the surface of his talent yet. So I remember I was talking to my dad about that. I was talking to my dad about this the other day, and I mentioned like, I'm walking through Target and I see Jared Allen from the Brooklyn Nets. Most people don't even know who he is. I just know he's this giant, tall, 7'1" man with a giant afro. And I saw him in Target when they were about to go play the Bucks, like the day before. I was like, wow, there's nothing better that can happen to me today. All of a sudden, then Lorenzo Cain gets signed. Brewers trade for Christian Yelich. I'm like, this team is a contender right now. And you see the tweet surfacing of the guy who's like, good job, Brewers, mortgaging your future for a 270 hitter. What a joke of a franchise. He's really eating his words at this point. I mean, Christian Yelich is the best hitter at least in the NL right now, let alone the MLB.
Yeah,
Um,
and even
you
if you
can
look at
talk
it,
Cody Bellinger as well, but like he's insane right now.
you look at it too, what we gave up for him. And I mean, Lewis Brinson was obviously a big name at the time. I was
Mm.
always high on him, but I wasn't like the biggest fan of him, to be honest. And you look at what we gave up to get Christian Yelich, and I can't even comprehend how much the Marlins front office is sitting right now and being like, what did we just do? I mean, they've screwed themselves for years.
Yeah, I mean, it was uh, Jeter seems to be still pretty high on Brinson from different different things that he's talked about. So, I do hope Lewis Brinson does play well for them, but I can't imagine it's going to be even close to the point of what Christian Yelich does. Um, all right, back to it. Let's get to yay or nays right away. Um, Yay or nay, does Josh Hader, does he get back into the form he was at the start of the year, or does he continue to struggle for at least, I'll say, does he continue to struggle? That's a hard question too. Never mind. Let's do this. Does Josh Hader get back to all-star form?
Yay. I think from what I remember, he has gone through a point every single season where there is like a 1 to 2 week stretch where he struggles with the home run ball. And then after that stretch, he goes back to Hader. He has a couple, humid moments throughout the year. But I don't see a reason why he continues to give up home runs. I think, Cody Bellinger, I mean, you're talking about one of the best guys in baseball. Like Count said, their best hitter got a hit off of our best pitcher. So I think at some of those points, you just got to tip your hat to the other team, and they hit a good ball.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm going yay as well. I do think we'll see Josh Hader in the All-Star game, especially given that he's closing games now. That's going to be a huge aspect to his stock going up, and I think that he'll continue on the path of mowing guys down. Is the closer role something we want to see him in going forward? Like if we had the choice to? I don't know. I mean, I know we've gone back and forth about them signing Kimbrel. I've bought back in. I do think that signing Kimbrel wouldn't be the worst idea. I mean, you may not get him till Memorial Day, but to me, that's still pretty early, and you're getting a decent year out of him. Now, don't go break the bank on him, but um, we'll just have to wait and see what all happens with him. I know there's the compensation picks as well, so it depends on how they value those two. Um, does Yelich? So we have it listed as, does Yelich ever become human? Let's put it as this. Does Yelich ever go through a slump where he's going to be like one for his last 15 or 20?
I say yay just from the fact that I think every hitter goes through it. I'm not saying like I mean he's gonna slump. I mean he's human after all, and I think at some point you just don't see the ball for a couple at bats. So I say he will hit a slump at some point. I hope it doesn't happen. But at some point you have to be realistic and think that he will slump.
Right. I'm with you on that. I am going to say nay though, because I don't think that there's going to be many stretches. I don't think he's going to go hitless for many games at a time. I just don't see that. I mean, he may be having 1 for 4s, 1 for 5s, but sorry guys, that is my daughter. She's getting a little upset. Anyway, but I think that he's going to be. I don't think that he's going to go through slumps where he's not hitting the ball for 3, 4 games at all. That's just my personal thought, just watching him, you talking about the way that he adjusts everything and whatnot. Let's take a look at, will Corbin Burns be back in the show before the end of the month? Yay or nay?
Nay. I think the biggest thing that's bothered me about him is that they can't seem to figure out why he's become so vulnerable. So I think the longer he's able to stay down in AAA and make sure that once he does eventually come up, they have everything figured out and that they're able to realize why he was so vulnerable in his last couple of starts. So I say the longer he's down there and perfecting everything, the better.
I say nay for a different reason. I say nay because they've talked about he just needs to get all the confidence that he can down there, and I think he's going to need more starts than less to be able to figure that out. The guy seems to go out there and do his business, but you got to be confident that this ball is not getting hit out of the yard by the 4th inning at that point. So I do think that because he's not walking guys at a horrendous rate. So he feels confident in his stuff. He's just got to be able to, not leave it in places for guys to be able to touch him up a little bit. So I do think that we will see him back this year, just not this month. Ryan Braun. Is Ryan Braun going to break out of this slump within this week?
I say yay. I think the home run the other day, as I was talking about earlier, was telling. I think for him, like I was saying earlier, like he's never gone through like season stretch like this where he's not hitting the ball as well as he wants. So I think for him to get the home run the other day, as cliche as it sounds, to get the confidence back, I think that will be useful, and also to just like not see the Dodgers and St. Louis for like in the same 2 week span. So I think at the end of this week, I think he'll be doing all right.
I'm going to say nay. I don't think that he gets out of his slump this week. I think we see some at bats start to get taken away from him. Not saying that he's going to be out of it for the year or anything like that. I just don't foresee it happening. Um, I don't foresee it happening in these upcoming series. We don't know who's pitching for St. Louis tomorrow, tomorrow. But I do think Flaherty's. I haven't seen the starting lineup for today, but if Braun's in there, I don't think he's going to fare well against Flaherty. I think he's going to have a bounce back start, even though he didn't pitch well against them last time around. And then Wainwright, I have a strange feeling we're going to see some vintage Wainwright going up against the Brewers, because why not do it against the Brewers, right?
Yeah.
So, um, Christian Yelich, is he ever going to? Christian Yelich will start talking about himself in his post-game press conferences. Yay or nay?
Nay, I don't think this will ever happen. I always laugh at him because, the first two questions will be about himself, and, he'll give like the 1-2 sentence answers. And then the third question was like about Ryan Braun. And he was just Mr. Chatty Cathy, and he was talking Sophia's ears off. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, not only the person he is on the field, but the person he is off the field. Like, it's a perfect combination, and it blows me away every time.
Right. I mean, I say nay as well. He's a team guy. He cares about those around him, from what we see at least, and he just seems like an awesome dude. Uh, Matt Albers will be unemployed by the end of the month. Yay or nay?
I'm gonna go with nay from the fact that I think we need him, but not necessarily in key roles. I think we're just gonna need him when there are those games where you just got to cover the innings and you just got to get out. So from that aspect, I think he will have a job with the Brewers, but it won't be the same job of like, here it's a 1-0 game, go out in the seventh. I don't think it's going to be that.
I don't disagree with you there. I am going to say yay. I don't foresee him. I don't foresee him becoming a guy that even really contributes for them. He has not been the same since his injury. I believed in him coming back, because obviously he wasn't right last year after being hurt, but there's still something where it's off with him. And I know you can't, like we said, with Hader. Hader gave up a home run to Bellinger. So did Albers. You can't blame it all on him for giving up one out or giving up one to Bellinger. However, I do think his struggles will continue, and I think we'll end up seeing someone, whether it's Adrian Hauser staying up with him, possibly Jay Jackson, Donnie Hart, whoever it may be, um, making their home in Milwaukee or making a trip up to Milwaukee, depending on who it is. They also have Josh Fields sitting down there too, so that's another thing that's another guy that's intriguing to see what he might do or when he might come up. Um, Next one, Chase Anderson. Chase Anderson will not go to the bullpen again. Yay or nay?
If he continues to pitch like he did the other day, then I say yay. I think with the struggles we've had between Freddie Peralta hitting the IL and Corbin Burns going back to the minors, I think, I think I mean, the way he showed himself the other day was the Chase Anderson I remember from 2017. So if he continues to stay like that, I don't see why you would even think about putting him back in the bullpen.
Sure. I I'm going to say sorry, I said he won't go back to the bullpen, right?
I
Yep.
believe
So
so. Yeah.
okay, so he won't go back to the bullpen. I say yay to that. I think he's going to be I think he's being more similar to the guy that you gave the contract to versus the guy that showed up last year. Um, I've always been a pretty big Chase Anderson fan. Um, that's the guy goes out there and he works and he works and he works. He went from being a guy that was supposed to just be a stopgap for the Brewers to being a guy that they could rely on for a year. And I think we're gonna see more of that versus a guy who is giving up home runs. And we'll see what happens. Uh, Gio Gonzalez signs with the Brewers after being released by the Yankees. Yay or nay?
Yay. I was actually very sad when we did not sign him in the offseason. I loved what he was able to bring to the Brewers at that final stretch of the season. And I think, again, going off of how, our rotation is kind of up in the air with a lot of the issues we've had of recent. So I think for him to be able to come in, fill the rotation gap, and then also just going back into the bullpen too when we don't need him in the rotation and filling those couple inning relief um, times, I think that'll be. I mean, I just think it's a smart idea to bring him back.
Right. Yay, exactly for every reason you said. Um, he's a guy that you can use. He pitched really well towards the tail end of last year, and I was shocked that he didn't have a job somewhere. Um, I think you'll be seeing him back in Milwaukee sooner than later. Um, all right, let's get into the week preview. So the Brewers are playing two series this week. They have St. Louis to start. Seems like every week St. Louis and Milwaukee are playing. Um, and then they have a trip over to New York to play the Mets. Um, when we take a look at this week, who do we need to see a breakout or a rebound from?
I mean, this has been a pretty consistent name to be brought up in this category every week, but Jesus Aguilar, I think, if he's going to, he kind of needs to because he doesn't have any options left. You have Eric Thames starting to push for his job. So I think if he wants to be with us, he's got to. Otherwise, I don't see him having the same role that he had last year.
Right. I mean, and it's the same song and dance or the same song and dance just with a different guy for this year's Travis Shaw. I know he's still working through the foot or through the hand injury, um, but he needs to be good for the Brewers to be good. Um, I have a feeling that he will rebound a little bit this week. It may not, and the rebound might not be, oh, he's hitting 400 over his last week. It may be he's hitting 250 over his last week, but that's a better stretch than what he's shown over the last 7 games, where he's hitting 154 with no extra base hits, 9 strikeouts, and no walks. So can't have that and trot that guy out every game. And if you're trotting Hernan Perez out for every game, good luck. You have a problem. Even though I do like him, he's a stopgap. He's not someone that you want to be playing every day. Um, Going into the next portion, who needs to chill out for both the um, St. Louis Cardinals and for the New York Mets?
For the Cardinals, because they seem to be a familiar foe with us for the last couple of weeks, Paul Goldschmidt, I mean, if he can just calm down a little bit and not like continually get hits against us, that'd be fantastic. Um, and then for the New York Mets, Robinson Cano, I mean, he's a pretty obvious one. He's been a stud in the majors for years and years and years. Although it seems that he's, obviously everybody regresses after a little bit, but he's still a very good player. And I think if he can just calm down, take a couple days off, maybe it'd be great.
Right. Um, I'm gonna go with one name that people probably don't know a ton about, and then another name that Brewer fans definitely know about, but hasn't been on their radar for a while. For the Mets, it's gonna be Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil is a guy who gets his bat on the ball. He people don't know a ton about him, but he's one of those utility guys. He's primarily playing in the infield for them, but he's playing the guy over his last seven is hitting 348, 400, and with a slugging percentage of 391. Uh, he's just going to get on base for you. And I love those kind of guys unless they're playing against the Brewers. So him getting on base provides a lot of opportunity for guys like Peter Alonso, guys like Robinson Cano to be able to drive him in. And then Dexter Fowler, he's had a revival since Harrison Bader went on the IL. 381 for him, 458 on base, 476 slugging over his last 7 games. He's the same guy who last year at the start of the year is tweeting, "I'm going to get a hit over and over again until he finally gets one." Like at the start of the season, the guy has struggled over the last couple of years, and um, he's definitely taken advantage of an opportunity to be able to get back into an everyday role. Um, so we'll see what he ends up doing for them. And then who needs to stay consistent for the Brewers?
This is a very obvious one, but Christian Yelich, not so much from the power aspect, but just from the aspect of having good at bats. Um, I mean, he's one of those guys who will give you a tough at bat. He won't strike out on 3 pitches, never, once even, maybe, but he's a guy that just will put together very good at bats, and he gets on base. And I think not like the power is great and it looks great on paper and whatever, but if he keeps putting the bat on the ball, getting those extra base hits and getting walks, I mean, we're golden.
Right. I'm going to go Jeremy Jeffress for a lot of things that we talked about before. He's a guy that you need to be good for you. He's been consistently good in the appearances that he's had. Now it's time for him to ramp it up and get into the high leverage situations that he was in before. So we'll be able to see what he can do over the next week, because I think he's going to be a major piece for the success that they're going to have. Um, Surprise breakout. This one's a tough one, but what's yours?
I have Ryan Braun. I think, like I said before, I believe he's very much at the brink of breaking out and becoming the Ryan Braun we all love and know. So I think if he can break out, get a few hits against the Cardinals, and then carrying on into New York and continuing to get hits and getting on base, I think that will be very beneficial to this offense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with Adrian Hauser. Uh, I've never really been super high on him, but given the struggles with the pitching and a guy who hasn't been in their rotation, sometimes that makes it tough for a team if they don't have a super detailed book on him. Um, I'm going to say he pitches well tonight and gives you five strong, maybe 4 strong, depending on if they're going to make it a bullpen game or not. But whatever he does, I think it's going to be a strong outing from him, and then it'll get passed off into. I think we'll see JJ start to pitch in more important situations coming up. So uh, I think it'll be a fun one with him on the mound today. That being said, let's wrap this bad boy up. What's your bold prediction for the week?
My bold prediction is that everything is going to be okay. I know a lot of people are getting antsy about the slumping guys and our pitching staff not being as sharp as everybody seems that they want them to be. So I mean, it's at the end. We're reaching the end of April. Nobody's getting the World Series trophy in May. That's not going to happen. I think everything just going to flatten itself out, here pretty quick and everything's going to be okay.
I like that sentiment. I really do. I'm going to go with. I had Chase Anderson won't leave the rotation again. That's my year-long prediction for me, and we kind of talked about it. This week, Gio Gonzalez and Craig Kimbrell sign with the Milwaukee Brewers. That is my bold prediction for the week.
That's
We will
bold.
see if it comes to fruition. Very bold. Bold man.
I'm with
So,
you. I'm with you on the Gonzalez one, but not on the Kimbrel one.
well, we'll see what happens. I'm pushing for it. I'm hoping so. And if not, it's no skin off the Brewers' backs, I don't think. I think he will find a spot coming up somewhere at least. But I really do think that his home, for at least a short term, possibly will be in Milwaukee. So, anything else?
No, I think I think we covered everything.
Sweet. All right. Well, Brewer fans, let's get nuts this week. See you later.
See ya.